The 2026 Oscar nominations are here, and I just want to get off some quick thoughts. First off, this was a record breaking year for a particular film. That film is Sinners. It has broken the record, receiving the most Academy Award nominations of all time with 16, breaking the previous record that was 14, tied between three films: All About Eve, Titanic, La La Land. So, congrats to Sinners. I honestly am shocked that we are seeing a horror movie hold that record. And because this felt like an award that was going to be so difficult to break, because not only does it have to be a great film, it has to be a film that checks off the boxes of so many different categories. And so the fact that Sinners received three nominations for acting, congrats to Delroy Lindo for kind of sneaking in that spot. I did not predict that coming. But it also has to be a film that has music involved. This was nominated for Best Original Song, as well as score and sound. And the fact that it's a period piece that features vampires, I think really helps because it checks off the boxes of visual effects, production design, costumes, hair, and makeup. So it really is this all encompassing film that is required to break this record. And I'm also glad they did it without needing the new category of Best Casting, which it was nominated for. But even without that, it would have still received 15, clearing the record. So truly, truly, truly congrats to Sinners. I think that is the big story of the day. Some other big films that received a lot of nominations, obviously One Battle After Another, which still feels like the front runner for many categories such as Best Picture and Best Director. I will say I'm a little disappointed that Chase Infinity did not receive a nomination, and the fact that there were 4 acting nominations for this film and she was not in it, I just don't love that. I get that she is not a seasoned actress. She has only been in like one other film besides this, and in that whatever limited series on Apple TV Plus. And so like you're not gonna nominate other people like Leonardo DiCaprio and Tiana Taylor. Like they're all deserving. I would just love to see Chase Infinity in here. And in my opinion, the person who took her spot was Kate Hudson in a film that I have not seen yet. But that just feels like such an Academy thing to do, is to give these nominations to people that have either already received it or are just more connected to the industry. And so I would have loved to see a breakout performance from Chase Infinity be recognized. But the other films that really scored big, I think Marty Supreme, obviously, Sentimental Value was huge, which isn't surprising. But I think the fact that it got 4 acting nominations, it's a major contender here. Frankenstein, not super surprised there. It received a lot of the technical awards, costumes, hair, and makeup. That's really the best thing that movie has going for it. No director, though, which I think is not as surprising when you look at everyone else who was nominated, but I think that does hurt its chances a little bit about receiving Best Picture, which I'm not certain it was ever that competitive to win that anyways. And then Hamnet, the other one, which I don't think it had a bad day for nominations. It obviously received plenty, and I still think is probably in like the second or third spot for Best Picture right now. But the fact that Paul Mescal was not nominated for supporting actor, I really was convinced he was a lock. And maybe that's just because Jessie Buckley pretty much already won Best Actress. And so I think giving him a nomination because they play off each other so well in that film made sense. And plus, he was already nominated. So it feels like this is someone who the Oscars really appreciate. And so I'm not sure what that means for its Best Picture chances, but I would assume it knocks it down a little bit. And really, the only other big surprise of the day, I think, was F1 being nominated, which I will say, I did predict that. I did predict F1 would be nominated for Best Picture. And do I think it has a chance to win? Absolutely not. But I think the key here is that there needed to be some big blockbuster crowd-pleasing film on this list. And I think that once it was made clear that Wicked and Avatar were not good enough to be nominated for Best Picture, if people kind of pivoted a bit and tried to nominate F1 just for the sake of getting that blockbuster spot in the nominations, which Avatar and Wicked is a whole other conversation. Wicked receiving 0 nominations is shocking, especially considering how much it received last year. Now, I haven't seen the sequel, so I can't speak on its quality, but from what I've seen and heard from others, it clearly is not as well made as the previous one. But even still, the fact that they wrote original music for this and not even that was nominated comes as a bit of a surprise. But Avatar did receive 2 technical nominations, so there's that. But I think, F1 doesn't really have a chance to win Best Picture, but I guess that is what we have to have representative of the blockbuster year. So all that being said, I think this is a pretty typical year. There aren't a ton of major surprises, and I think that more speaks to the length of the award season and how in previous years there really hasn't been that many surprises. In fact, this is like the third or fourth year in a row where a lot of these major awards, including Best Picture, we kind of already know where they're going to go. Of course, there's a couple competitive races. I think Best Actor is still up for grabs, Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, but we still have a long ways to go. I think it's about a month and a half until the award ceremony, so I don't know. I guess we'll have that amount of time to sit on these nominations.